Hi everyone, welcome to this video tutorial. In this clip we're going to be doing the rest of Lab 15. So in other words, starting at task 4, we're going to be dealing with snapshots. I'm going to navigate over to find my virtual machine. So I'm going to click on VMs and templates. -3 is the VM that we're going to be working with. I've already opened the console as we can see here, so I haven't made any changes to the VM. Come back over. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is create a snapshot of the VM in the state that it's in now. So I'm going to right click on this guy. I'm going to say take a snapshot, give it a name. So I'm going to call this base, and then the description is going to be the original VM state. I'm going to disable snapshotting the virtual memory. We'll talk about what that is a little bit later. And it'll only take a brief moment to create the snapshot. There we go, we're set now. At this point in time, snapshot's taken. Now, let's make some changes to the state of our VM. Go back in here to the VM console. I'm going to bring up the properties of the screen, drag this up here a bit. I'm going to go into the desktop and I'm going to change the color to red. All right, so we've made a change to the VM. It's currently red for the screen background. Go back here into the VM. I've got one snapshot now, which is where the screen started in its normal state. If I want to maintain red, then I have to create another snapshot. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to take another snapshot. I'm going to call this guy red and say that the screen background red when snapshot taken. And again, I'm going to deselect snapshotting the memory. That'll take place pretty quickly. And our snapshot's now created. Go back over here into our VM. Once again, I'm going to change the screen background. So the starting state of the snapshot, the screen is red. I'm going to change some properties again. Desktop, color, make it yellow. Say OK. Certainly is bright. I go back over and say now I've got a snapshot that started red. Right now the state is yellow. I'm going to take another snapshot so I can preserve that yellow state. So take snapshot, I'm going to call it yellow, and then screen background yellow when snapshot taken. Again, I'm not going to snapshot the virtual memory. And we now have a third snapshot taken on that virtual machine. And we can see that that completes quite quickly. So I'm going to go back in here into my console. And I'm going to do one more thing. I will change the screen color yet one more time. So we'll do desktop, color, and we'll make this different color. Now, how does the state of the VM change? So again, I've now got a snapshot that I've changed the state. Started off yellow, no longer yellow. So I'm going to go back over here and bring up my snapshot manager. And we'll start kind of working with these snapshots a bit. So we can see once the snapshot managers come up, I've got 3 different snapshots, base, red, and yellow. And you are here, meaning that I'm currently working and changing the state after the yellow snapshot was taken. Right. Now, what's going to end up happening here? There's a couple different things that I can do, a number of different things I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do is look at reverting to the snapshot. What that means is I'm going to go back to the state of the VM when the snapshot was taken. Right now, non-yellow. Right? And we said that the screen was yellow when we took the snapshot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say revert to, and that will take us back to the state of the VM for the current snapshot, and that means that the current state is going to be lost if we do the reversion. So I'm going to say, yeah, go ahead and do that. We see the task is taking place over here in the right. And once that task is complete, we're going to be back to the state of the VM when we took the snapshot. So if I go back over here into the console, we are going to see that the VM is not up and running. Okay. Now, why is that? Because we did not maintain the memory state. So let me go back here. I'm going to kill this, and I'm going to power my VM back on again. And while that's taking place, we're going to talk about memory states for a minute here. All right, so the VM is now powered back on. And just go back and monitor the console window while it's going through the reboot. Now, I told it not to take a snapshot of memory. What happens when I do that is the snapshot is very, very quick. It basically freezes the disk, creates a new VMDK file, and any changes we make after the fact are going to be written into the VMDK file. Because I did not maintain the memory, if I go back to the beginning state, it doesn't know what memory was. Therefore, it's going to hard crash the VM, and I'm going to have to boot it back up again. And we'll see here in a minute, once this is booted up and we get logged in, it's going to ask us what happened to the operating system, like why did it crash? So let me just go in here and we will log in. And basically say that, what happened, this wasn't planned. We're back now to the beginning state when that snapshot was taken, so it's yellow, which is fine, but the risk that we take by not snapshotting the memory is that we hard crash the VM if we revert. Okay. Now you might look and say, well, why don't we just snapshot the memory every time? Well, the snapshot was very, very fast. If we'd snapshotted the memory, basically what it would have to do is take a look at the memory bitmap when we actually create the snapshot and create a file the size of memory. So if you're running, say, a VM that has 4 gigabytes of RAM associated to it, it's going to create a 4 gigabyte file that represents the memory at that time. That is not exactly going to be a fast process. So we have to be a little bit careful whether or not we're going to snapshot memory. So that's one step. So that is task 5, where we did the reversion to the snapshot. Now, the next thing we're going to do is task 6. We're going to delete an individual snapshot. So what I'm going to do is come back over here and bring up my snapshot manager once again for the -3 VM. And we still have yellow. We still are at yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick red, okay? And I'm not going to revert to red. I'm simply going to pick red. And then I'm going to say I want to delete that. So I'm basically going to get rid of the state of that snapshot. So I'm going to say yes, and it's going to kill that particular snapshot. So anything related to the red snapshot is now gone. Right? Sometimes that reversion can take a little bit of time, and red is going to hang in here for a while. If that's the case, you can always close and reopen the snapshot manager again, and it'll refresh a little bit more quickly. We don't have to worry about that. Now, notice that we're still here. So if I go back and look at this VM, it's still yellow, it's still powered on. So we don't have to worry about that part of it, okay? And we're good from that perspective, okay? Now, the other thing that we can do, and let me make sure that I am going to follow this through correctly. Yeah, so I'm going to go back over to my snapshot manager. I'm also going to click base, and I'm going to get rid of that as well. So I can select that, and I'll delete the base. And I'll say, yes, I want to get rid of that, which means anything related to this snapshot, at least at the beginning of it, is now gone. So the only one I've got left now is yellow. And if I go back and select my current state, sure enough, the screen is still yellow. And I can go back over here and again see that the only thing I've got left is the yellow one. So basically what we've been doing is deleting all these states of the virtual machine without having any opportunity to go back to what that state was. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, which is the last task, is I'm going to delete all of the snapshots. And what that means is I'm now going to roll everything up. So if I say I want to delete this, I'm going to incorporate whatever is the beginning state of this snapshot, or sorry, the current state of this snapshot, which happens to be the beginning, up into the original. So I'm going to say I want to delete all. I'll say yes. And when I do that, in a minute here, we're going to see that yellow is going to disappear once the snapshot has actually been rolled up. So we can see that the task is complete. You are here, no snapshots left. I'm going to close that. And now, when I go back to the state of the VM, it is yellow and it is up and running because that was the state, the current state when we did the rollup. I don't have the opportunity to go back to red. I don't have the opportunity to go back to the beginning when we had no background whatsoever. So that's a quick view of how snapshots work and the end of Lab 15. It's a wrap for the video. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and we'll see you next time.